Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 93 of the Not Joanna Eggs podcast. This week, Robin and I are reviewing the 2019 Sergio Pablos directed film Klaus, which is the Santa origin story that we've all been hearing about. And it's terrific. We hope you guys enjoy this episode. Hope that you're having happy holidays. And apologies for the delay in getting this one up. It's been a little bit crazy on my end, but hey, it's the season, right? So. Again, hope you guys are doing great, and thank you so much for listening. Take care. Bye.
All right.
You're trying to get yourself in the zone.
Center.
Tame the tiger. Tame the tiger.
God damn it. Hello, welcome to...
Okay.
One
okay,
more.
sorry. Go ahead.
You're fine. Hello, welcome to another episode of Not Joanna Eggs. I'm Robin.
And I'm Tracy.
And this week we are talking about Klaus.
Yes. It's a Crimbus kind of movie for a Crimbus kind of time of year.
It is.
Yeah, and this was this is a movie that I remember being. It was like a very highly anticipated film that was coming out, or at least in animation circles, because like from what I remember, how everyone was kind of obsessed with Paperman when that short came out, when it was with Wreck-It Ralph, because it looks so cool, and it was just like they would just apply like 2D textures onto like 3D model characters and everything. But what's weird is that they kind of did the opposite with this. Technically, it's all hand-drawn, but they used a 3D lighting technique, which I didn't know you could do, but they did.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
And it looks great.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
This is going to be partially a gush cast, honestly, but
I mean, yeah.
I don't think you should be expecting anything less from us, frankly. This is visual catnip and eye candy for us. So
I mean, it's so good.
It's very, very pretty. But yeah, let's get into the plot real quick, just because it's pretty simplistic, you know.
It's pretty easy. So the movie is about a postman named Jesper, who is sort of a lazy SOB whose father I guess is like,
I think he's the postmaster general, or like he's just the head of the post office, and I think it's Norway is where they were aiming for.
Norway or
somewhere in Scandinavia, pretty much.
Yeah. And so in order to try and make his son not be a lazy bastard, he sends him to the remote town of Smeerensburg.
Yes.
Where he has to make the post office run by getting 6,000 letters in a year.
Mm-hmm.
In a town that essentially hates itself because it's just two feuding families.
It's kind of like a Hatfields and McCoys kind of thing, like where it's now just sort of, it's a tradition that's been indoctrinated throughout the entire town itself. Like they don't send their kids to school
because they don't want them cavorting with the other
God forbid they're intermixing with the other family, but but they're also extremely violent, so mayhaps it's also out of safety concerns. I don't know. But it feels like a problem that they invented for themselves. Anyway.
It really is. I think my favorite bit of that, when Jesper's trying to initially sort of figure it out, and he's talking to the ferryman, voiced by your boy Norm MacDonald, who crushes it.
He is so great in this. Like, he's so great at being really dry and acerbic. Like, he gets some of the best, like, smug looks in this entire movie.
I know.
It's great.
God, can we? We'll gush about it in a minute, but the designs in this are so good. But anywho, so Norm MacDonald, he says, well, they really only have one thing to say to each other, and they seem to do it pretty well without the mail. And you see in the background two houses, and one points a cannon at the other and fires. It's
God!
So good.
And then like the bathtub falling from the house that is just kind of like dismantled, whatever. Like just I think one of my favorite recurring gags was just the old man in the rocking chair that they keep messing with. Yeah, I like that a lot too. I kind of like the spooky children that keep like essentially maiming a snowman. Like there's nothing actually being done to him, but like just being stabbed with carrots like that. I like that. Like those kind of like weird sight gags.
Well, yeah, and the kids in this movie are just so again, the designs in this holistically are amazing. The kids are super fucking cute in this movie.
Oh yeah, like in between the two of them, so they're the two feuding families are there are the red-headed Ellingbows and the kind of like gothic, vaguely Addams Family-esque Crumbs.
Yeah, they're like a weird like.
Yeah, like a weird puritanical sort of vibe,
like the
I don't know.
Looks like a straight up pilgrim, right? Like
yeah, and the head of the Ellingbow clan is voiced by Will Sasso, famed Vine superstar, former member of Mad TV. He was in Drop Dead Gorgeous, a bunch of different movies.
Yeah, and the head of the Crumb family is voiced by Joan Cusack of Joan Cusack fame.
A star of Toys and Toy Story 2.
Damn it, I knew you were going to say Toys.
And say anything. I mean, of course I'm going to mention Toys, the movie that Robin cannot stand and that I have a weird relationship with. It's kind of terrible, but I don't know. I'm fascinated by the design in that movie.
Kind of terrible.
Okay, it's objectively bad, but the production design is very whimsical, and that's why I like it. But I know that you hate it, and that's kind of why I like it more.
I hate you for that.
Fair. I would too.
Much more fun to watch with friends dunking on it than trying to watch. I cannot imagine trying to watch that movie alone. That might be a form of torture for me in which I rip my own eyeballs out.
I would never watch, and here's the thing, usually some bad movies like Toys are made better with alcohol or, some kind of drug paraphernalia. Yes. Not with Toys. It doesn't make enough sense on its own. So if you're out of it, you will either just fall asleep or you will be so freaked out that it's going to mess with your head. So just don't do it.
You know what would really bother me is the skeleton x-ray scene.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, look, if we're going to have a side cast about Toys, we'll do it, but
we're getting off the rails. All right. Back to Klaus. So Jesper comes to this town and he ultimately ends up befriending a woodsman named Klaus.
Voiced by your boy, J.K. Simmons. And Jesper is voiced by Jason Schwartzmann, everyone's favorite asshole, and Wes Anderson darling.
Oh, yeah.
I love Jason Schwartzmann so much.
I know you do. He's pretty great in this.
I do.
I thought it was Ed Norton the entire time until
No, it's not. But
it sounds a lot like him, though.
I disagree, but that's just because I'm very obsessed with Jason Schwartzman.
Fan?
I'm quite the stan. I mean, I don't even like using that term, but I'll use it for him.
I said fan, but all
okay.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Stan. Is that what it is? Is it stalker fan? I don't know. I forgot.
I don't know.
I see it on Twitter. I don't know how many people actually use it in real life.
Yeah, I don't know if Stan is off topic.
Stan. Yeah, I don't know.
Stan.
Stan.
So Jesper meets Klaus and ends up delivering a toy to one of the children in town. Which, because of this, the other children in town want toys, and so this launches basically Jesper's scheme to send letters to get the post office going in Smearensburg.
Yeah, it's a means to an end for him. So he's like, oh, Klaus has a bunch of toys, and he likes seeing the kids get happy, so I'll coerce them into mailing letters, and they have to pay for stamps and everything.
Yeah,
it kind of makes sense. Like he's about as conniving as Kuzco or like John Ralphio from Parks and Recreation, whatever.
He very much has those vibes to him.
He's not nearly as lazy as Kuzco was for sure, because he's like, you know what, because the whole impetus behind him having to receive the letters is because his dad threatens to cut him off financially if he doesn't have this. He has to accomplish something by doing this in Smearensburg.
Right, exactly. So that's sort of what's at stake for him, is that he doesn't want to lose. He doesn't want to be cut off and be poor.
He really likes silk sheets, which I don't quite get.
I mean, but if you don't have to worry about cleaning them, it's probably not as big a deal.
Yeah, that or you just keep burning them.
Yeah, I mean,
what are we going to do with this entire foundry that's just dedicated to burning all the silk sheets that Jesper's gone through?
God, who knows?
Ugh. The worst job in town.
So, this is sort of the scheme that he ends up hatching. And through this, we see sort of the mythology of Santa Claus being built up.
Mm-hmm.
I love that it's just the children sort of making this up by themselves. Like, that is very cool and also, pretty accurate to children.
Yeah, I mean, because, they want to take the whole mythology behind Santa to, the extreme. And, that's the weird thing is that they never call him Santa within it. It's just Klaus. That's just his
Klaus.
last name. Yeah. Just this mountain of a man played played by J.K. Simmons.
Huge. I love
it. It took me a while to figure that out that was even him, because I'm so used to hearing J.K. Simmons screaming or yelling that I didn't quite realize it was him until later. I'm like, oh, when he started laughing, I was like, I get it.
I think the other thing that like makes it harder is he's so quiet.
Yeah, which is a very strange thing, because J.K. Simmons characters, they're always known for being like very fast talking, like your J. Jonah Jamesons from Spider-Man, Mayor Lionheart from Zootopia, Ford from Gravity Falls, all of it. Klaus, he doesn't talk at all during this movie. He talks very minimally.
Yeah, he's a big stoic man. They get to a certain point at which they sort of run out of toys. And so this is when Jesper hatches a plan to do one big last push for Christmas. And then there's this scene where... Is this where Klaus explains, I think, why that he has all these toys left over and why he doesn't want to make more?
So basically, Jesper, like, knowing that, like, he's trying to hit his threshold. I think he was at about, like, 4,000 letters at that point. And he's like, no, he's like, I have to have some kind of reason for people to want to send more letters and everything.
Yeah.
Note, at this point, he has still shown no actual genuine concern for the amount that he is totally imposed on Klaus's generosity and, like, talent.
Well, yeah, definitely.
At that point, then when he tries to have, like, basically this presentation with just on a bunch of poster boards, that was a very John Ralphio thing to me. Like, it wasn't just the sideburns. It was just like, oh, he's got this presentation. This is Entertainment 720 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Was that it? Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yep, Entertainment 720, because you'll go around the world twice.
Yeah, fantastic. That was the whole thing, is that he's trying to surprise Klaus, and he just, I guess, sort of like renovated or cleaned up and organized the workspace that Klaus had been working in before.
That's right.
But it had been long abandoned, because at the first point that Jesper arrives to his property, it's just like a bunch of tools and stuff. Like, looks very foreboding, but then once Jesper cleans it up, it looks very nice, presentable, like actual, like, there's woodworking space, there's like clockworking areas for like making mechanical toys. But then we find out the reason why Klaus stopped doing it, because he had like hundreds of toys just littered all around this workshop. Yeah, and so the whole reason is that Jesper ends up inadvertently taking down this sheet that covers up... He made like a wood carving shrine, basically, for him and his wife, who had passed away after being sick, and 7 empty spots for the children that they planned on having. And that never happened. Like, I guess she either had trouble conceiving or something else had gone wrong, so...
Yeah, obviously they don't go into it. They just explain that they don't really have kids.
Yeah, like I'm under the impression that like they kept trying, whatever, and it just never happened. So Klaus was just like, well, okay, well, just keep making toys. And it's like the implication is that it was years, and then she had passed away, because like there was like at the point that they were sending out all those letters, like that's. It's kind of horrifying, really, if you really think about it. It's just like these are just sort of like totems and testaments to the kids that he never had, but he never quite got over it or whatever. So he just kind of kept making toys as a way of grieving the family that never existed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, that's dark.
It is. I think that's what makes that turn. So it's at this point, I looked away for like 2 seconds, and of course I missed this, but
that's what this movie does, man.
I know,
it's like
so...
you like, I had so much trouble like making notes, because it's so pretty and there's so many nuances that you miss if you don't watch it. Like, basically have your face glued to the screen. You will miss a lot of things, because I had to rewind it a bunch.
So there's this little Sami girl who
Margot.
pops up.
God, she's the best.
She's so cute. I do want to talk a little bit more about that whole thing, but...
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We'll get back to it. She's been there kind of popping up to try and send a letter or talk to Jesper. Jesper does not obviously speak whatever language she's speaking, and so eventually he brings her to the teacher in town, Alva, voiced by Rashida Jones.
Your girl, Rashida Jones.
Crushes it. Honest to God.
I really hope that we hear more of her in voice acting, because I think she's a phenomenal voice actress.
She knocked it out of the park, and
she really did. Like, I love Alva's character so much. Like,
her design is so good.
She ends up accepting a job there in Smearensburg as a teacher in a town where no one sends their kids to school. So in order to survive, she becomes a fishmonger, and she hates it.
Yes.
Jesper, being the scheming bastard that he is, like, tries to play on her emotions of like wanting to help out and be a positive influence in these kids' lives by teaching them how to read, so then they can learn how to write letters. Like, the levels that he goes to is honestly kind of impressive. impressive. Like, if he had this kind of drive, then why isn't he working in politics?
Well,
because I feel like he'd be good at it, honestly.
He probably would, but I think he doesn't realize what he's doing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think
his intentions are totally selfish, but he does end up influencing the other people surrounding him in a positive way.
There's ultimately ends up being this like massive snowball effect of like the town getting better.
Exactly.
But so he makes he gets the little Sami girl to tell him what she wants, which is, I think, a boat.
It's kind of like a combination of
it's basically
it's like a land raft almost, you know, like how whenever you see like wakeboarders and stuff, like similar to that, but it's meant for snow drifts.
Yeah. So this is the part I missed. I saw that he gets the tools together like he's going to make it, but then does Klaus make the thing?
No, so Klaus shows Jesper how to start making them. Like, initially, you see Jesper tries to do it. Klaus goes, like, this is after they have their fight and everything.
Right.
Klaus makes his way over to the post office, and he sees that Jesper had attempted to make it, is terrible at it, and then he's like, all right, well, fuck it. Then he starts, like, actually shaving down the wood to start, like, making the sled or snowboard, whatever it is. Jesper initially tries talking to him to, like, apologize, and, like, Klaus is just not having it. He's like, nope, just shave the wood down. I'm going to teach you how to do this.
Just do the work.
Yeah, and to his credit, Jesper, he gets into it, and he gets very like excited about crafting it for her, and he's like, he wants to see Margot's reaction whenever she receives it the following morning, and it's really, really cute. Like, I like that they had that sort of understanding. Because, like, now Jesper's like, look, like, there's a lot of work that goes into this. So if you're going to be partnering with Klaus, you got to respect his craft.
Yeah. Well, and he also, like, he respects and understands, like, why he's doing it, right?
Exactly.
Which is super cool. So there's this beautiful scene in which she's playing on the little sled, land raft, what do we want to call it, with her dad, which is super cute.
It's very, I got a little teary at that point because I just thought it was really, really cute. Because I like seeing Margot happy, basically.
Yeah, she's super cute, and her being happy is great. Can you please get off my porch? You're trespassing. So that's sort of the point at which he learns from all what he's done to the town as a whole, like this big cascading effect that we're talking about.
So from the first time that Jesper meets Alva, she has just been saving up as much money as she possibly can from the fish business to be able to leave, because she's like, no, this place is miserable. Had I known, I never would have stayed here or whatever. But then you later see that Alva ends up using her savings to end up paying for like notebooks and for renovating the fishmonger thing into an actual school. Yeah, and it looks really, really nice. Like she relearns her passion for teaching again, which is really, really sweet.
Yeah, we see this scene earlier after Jesper sort of introduces the naughty and nice list concept to the kids. That they start like doing good things, like pulling the spears out of the houses and all these other things.
Finally.
Finally. Have you dealt with spears lying in your house for years?
Has your spear budget skyrocketed every year since
since time
the Great Mooning of 86?
The Great Mooning of 86.
Oh, man.
That was such a good joke.
It was a good time.
Also, they had like a triptych for it, which is just hilarious.
Yeah, right. I know. Like they both have history museums dedicated to their ongoing traditional feud.
Yeah,
even though like it's kind of unsure as to why they're even fighting to begin with. Like it's just because they've always done it. Yeah, you know, just because.
It's what we do.
It sounds like an afternoon fair.
Yeah. But so after she shows him the school, she then shows him the rest of the town where they've created this like beautiful open air market essentially for Christmas.
It reminds me a lot of the Chris Kindle Mart that they have in downtown Chicago.
It's absolutely, it's evoking the same tradition, right?
Yeah, well, lots of traditional European markets are structured the same way. Like they just imported it here, so.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think that's the point at which Klaus says he's into the Christmas idea, and then
it's the Ellingbows and the Crumbs actually interfere because they go into Jesper's post office and they see that he has, it's like a tracker for how many letters and stuff that have been sent and everything. And they see that he's about like 2,000 off or something. So, granted, I don't know how they did this because it looks like it was a span of maybe a day.
I know,
maybe two. How in the hell did they send like over 10,000 letters during that time? It was something crazy like that. Like I forget what it was, but
so
I mean, I saw that they had the families going at it, but it wasn't that many people. Like the Ellingbows and the Crumbs decide to have a truce. so they can just do a mass like email blast thing basically,
yeah,
and then just send them over to his dad, just be like, okay, pick him up, we don't like him anymore.
Yeah, right.
Like,
so
well they never liked him, but you know,
no,
you get the idea.
But so they're doing that in the meantime, like Klaus and Jesper are preparing for Christmas with the help of the Sami people.
Yeah, they make an honest to goodness huge workshop. Like, it's really really sweet. They even make him his outfit. Mm-hmm. It was a little too much red for me. I kind of got a Royal Tenenbaums vibe from it. Just a little bit. But I was like, just the idea of a tracksuit Santa is very appealing to me.
I mean,
so,
yeah,
but I like his hat was cool. I did like the outfit. I just kind of got that vibe from there. I couldn't turn it off in my brain. I think it's because of Jason Schwartzmann being involved.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I should really rewatch that movie.
It's so great.
Anywho, so, and then Jesper's dad shows up and explains his angle. Obviously, the town rejects Jesper.
Mm-hmm.
Jesper.
It's kind of like a liar revealed sort of thing, which is like,
yeah,
but at the same time, like, Jesper is such a manipulative shit before. It's not really that shocking, you know? Like, I don't think that he really conned the people that much. Maybe Klaus. Like, you can see that it really hit Klaus very badly.
Yeah,
but Alva was already a little suspicious of him before. She warmed up to him, but then that kind of, you know, was like the last straw for her.
Definitely. And so he, at the last second, stays in town and then goes back to Klaus to try and help them because he sees that the Yelling Bows and the Crumbs, the leaders, are going to try and stop him from delivering the presents.
Yeah, like, they want to straight up destroy them. Like, have their biggest, like...
Grinch style.
Yeah, very Grinch style. But, like, they just have, like, their biggest, like, essentially mute children just try to beat the crap out of the gigantic sack full of gifts and stuff. Like, it's a piñata.
Yeah, but they've also got, like,
a
few... Basically, it's like a big... You know, it's their big chase scene at the end, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was cool. It was very dynamic. It was... like, and the technology really got to work, too. Because, like, just the depth of field that they had when they were going through that little ice canal thing. That was really cool.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love that. So I think probably the final emblem of, like, breakdown of the feud is during that scene, Pumpkin, Mr. Ellingbow's daughter, who can only say the word mine, ends up saving or, like, picking up Olaf, Mrs. Crumb's son.
Oh, no, it's vice versa. Olaf rescues Pumpkin.
Oh, but I just remember her carrying him.
Well, no, she did at the end. It was like, so what it was is that Pumpkin was going to fly off of the cliff or whatever on the sled that she had taken from the Sami child that was way too small for her. But Olaf had caught her before she fell, and then she's like, mine. And then you see her holding him later in, like, a very loving sort of fashion, and the families are like, oh shit, what do we do now?
Fun fact, Sergio Pablos, the director, voiced Pumpkin and Olaf, technically.
Oh, yeah.
Which is probably just some, various noises.
That sounds about right to me.
And then the movie ends. It has sort of like an epilogue scene of Jesper with his kids married to Alva, which,
It was a little shoehorned in for me, too. I was like... To me, it seemed like it was kind of overshadowing what I thought that the actual message was, or what they were trying to, like, push as the actual message for the movie. Mm-hmm. Just be like, oh, he's got to be straight. I'm just like, it's not that he has to be straight. It's just that I don't think the relationship thing was totally necessary. I think that the plot worked just as well if that wasn't the case.
Yeah, I just think it feels shoehorned in, and, like, I think Alva is already, like, a really good, interesting character.
Yeah, she doesn't need him as, like, a counterpoint to her. It's like, no, she's a nuanced, well fleshed out character.
Like, regardless of how you feel about, like, the shipping aspect of it, I think ultimately the relationship between Jesper and Klaus, because it gets a lot more time in the movie, is much more compelling.
Yeah. And I don't think necessarily in, like, a romantic way, but, like, just how the two of them bond together.
Yeah.
Over, like, their essentially, like, their partnership together of, like, having the letters and the toys and everything.
Again, it gets time in the movie, so you get to have cute moments, which are really funny, like, just sit there being all magical and awesome, and Klaus is like, what?
It's just Jesper pouting because they like him better.
Well, yeah, because they don't know the work that Klaus is putting into it, or that Jesper's putting into it, and he gets to hear all the people, all the kids talking about Klaus, and so he just has this, like, kind of bitter view on it, which is really funny.
He just pouts. He's like, not a word. But getting back to Alva just very briefly, like, to me, I think the whole crux of her story was that she was just very disillusioned and frustrated and angry that she wasn't able to do what she was passionate about initially.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that her total story arc was there based around like the school and her rediscovering her love of teaching kids. And I thought that was the succinct story arc that she needed. It's like, there was the problem, the build up to the solution, and then the resolution for that. And I think hers was totally complete. Like, the whole relationship thing did seem a little odd to me.
Yeah, it just feels very tacked on.
Yeah, I mean, I get that they were trying to make it tie up that kind of loose end. Whether or not it needed to be a thing is debatable. If you like their dynamic between the two of them, that's fine. But even Moen's kind of like just shoehorns it on there too, and he's making fun of Jesper initially.
I do like that joke, if only because of his joke about like, now the urination and nervousness, can't relate to that at all.
No, I mean, he's like the best sarcastic Greek chorus ever.
He's so good. I'm so glad he's in there. I was so happy when I heard his voice.
I love his work as Pigeon on Mike Tyson Mysteries, a show that I'm otherwise okay with, but I think Norm MacDonald's he's a freaking delight. Like, he's so funny. I just think that I like seeing the contrast where, like, Jesper says, like, that was the first time his dad said that, like, that was the proudest he was of him, was by, like, just doing that and, like, learning this partnership thing with Klaus. So I was like, that's cool. And because, like, the way that they shot it is that, like, when the boat is pulling away from the dock, you can't see the dock itself. So you can only see Margot going on her sled, like, trying to catch up with him and everything. But it was cute. Like, the storyboarding itself, like the framing of all the shots in this is like, it's so gorgeous. Like, I think this is probably about the time that we're going to start gushing about the actual aesthetics of the film.
So can we talk about there's two in particular. Well, there's obviously all of them, but in particular, the designs that stick out to me because I really liked them were Jesper's dad and his fantastic mutton chops.
Hey, those are family mutton chops. They've got a legacy to keep up with those sideburns.
Family mutton chops, god damn it! But also Mogan's and his mutton chops, but also his whole design is just so good.
Yeah,
as a holistic thing,
dude. Like the whole silhouette thing that they have for all the characters, like they're all extremely defined. You get a great understanding of who they are. Like, just seeing Klaus, like, because one of the first times we see him is just his silhouette, and he's just this hulking huge dude.
Oh, he's
and he's got
massive.
Like, and that was like one of the coolest parts, is that, like, also seeing Jesper very shyly attempting to take him over to the household of the kid that was asking for that one gift or whatever it was, like the sad kid that was in the tower, because like Klaus takes up 98% of the buggy itself that Jesper is driving, and funny. Jesper's just like right there. It's kind of like whenever you're on a plane or in like a very packed elevator or a train or something. I was like, oh god, it's great.
On the note of that kid, I also have to point out the dogs that his dad owns are so good. Because
they're all teeth.
They're all teeth and like bone, and they look almost like emaciated wolves, but at the same time, like their design is just so good.
There's just something about the amount of care that went into animating these characters, because
it's very obvious, like, the love that went into this thing.
Like, this is, like, to me, the instant I saw this, I'm like, this is a movie that was made by animators who love their work for people that are obsessed with animation, because they know the, like, just like the craftsmanship that has to go into it, because you really can get so much nuance when it comes to hand-drawn stuff. Like, I like CGI too, but hand-drawn is my bread and butter, because it's so cool. Like, every single frame of this could very well just be, you know, take a photo of it and then put it into a storybook, because the backgrounds themselves have that very sort of like soft, almost pastel sort of look to them, which is really, really nice. And it is very atmospheric too, considering the nature of the story.
Yeah, absolutely.
God, it's so pretty. I couldn't get past it. I was so bad at writing notes because I didn't want to look away.
Well, on that storybook note, I paused it to do something, and when I looked at the screen after I'd paused it, it legitimately, I mean, it looked like a page out of a goddamn storybook. It was so beautiful.
Like a really nice desktop or something that you have for around Christmas time, all that.
God, it was so good.
Man.
I
really hope that this makes a trend of more movies like it, because I am obsessed with this aesthetic. I would love that to be a thing.
Let's be honest, I'm going to watch this at least once more just this season. So I do want to point out the Sami thing was actually really cool for a number of reasons. So if you're not familiar, Sami are a native peoples of roughly the Scandinavian region.
Yeah, I think it's mostly like one of the farthest like nearly Arctic Circle parts of Norway, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so Norway and a little bit in Sweden, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Technically, it's Norway, Sweden, Finland, Russia, and larger Nordic countries. But
yeah, so essentially, like how in North America we have the Inuit tribe, I think it seems like it kind of translates similarly to there.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because they don't get, obviously, a lot of representation, especially in Norway. They even today are very bad to the Sami people in some ways. But there's sort of two things, which is this was actually a big criticism for Frozen, the first one, because
do tell.
Criticism for Frozen? What?
On this show? Preposterous.
No, but this was actually like a thing that a lot of people got sort of angry about was Kristoff in Frozen is very much sort of acts like a Sami in some ways.
Is he coded to be like a Sami or
loosely? But in doing that, they also unfortunately rely on some like old nasty Sami stereotypes.
Oh, that sucks.
So like in the way of us doing like a bad Native American war cry type of thing.
Oh goddamn, are you serious?
It's not to that extent, but that seems to be my understanding. Like him riding the reindeer is an old stereotype of Sami people because
Disney, you had one fucking job.
Because reindeer tending is one of their sort of bigger.
Is it like an industry or what they're associated with, basically?
Yeah, it's one of their big sort of things. They've been known in the past to do like reindeer fur and meat and things like this, and that's like a big part of their culture.
But it wasn't done in like a respectful sort of way, or well, it seemed like they didn't really have a whole lot of acknowledgement for it. Like the fact that Kristoff had Sven is kind of incidental. I don't know. Like he just needed a sidekick to talk to.
Yeah. So that's the first thing. But then, so it's good to see it here that not only are the Sami there, but they're pretty positively represented, and also like it's unambiguous, right? Because like first of all, the kids say Sami, but then also
you get to see their village and their industrious. They help out Klaus with all of it,
right?
Yeah,
all of it, and they don't speak the same language as everyone else because Sami have, I mean, not just one language, but multiple dialects and things, right? So
yeah, and I did notice that. So I always watch movies with captions, and whenever Margot or one of her parents or whatever were talking, it just said speaking Sami, so there was no English translation to it. So maybe they just wanted to kind of have it be as though like you could kind of infer what they were talking about by just how Jesper was reacting to things.
Yeah, I would kind of like to know on that basis, like if they actually, I'm hoping this is the case, they actually had like, you know, the language there. Cause like I know some less, what's the word? Careful.
Scrupulous.
Scrupulous. Thank you. Productions will sometimes just not do that. They'll just make up gibberish or something like that.
It's super dated.
It's super uncomfortable.
All right, so here's a bit of trivia here. So Neda Laba, who voiced the Sami girl Margot, she did not speak English whatsoever. So the director, Sergio Pablos, he went all the way to Tromsø, Norway, where she lived, and did the recording session through translation and mimicry.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, which is like bananagrams, but like that's honestly great.
That's amazing. Also on that note, a similarly interesting bit of trivia. So Smeerensburg is the name of the town, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's a misspelling of an actual town, Smeerenburg.
Yeah, which is in Norway, and I guess it was a whaling port at some point. And here's the crazy thing is I guess that they were trying to just pitch this movie to a bunch of different studios, but a lot of them said it was too risky, and this was as of April 2015, but by November 2017, Netflix had agreed to for the streaming rights and everything for it. So, which is really cool because like I remember seeing a bunch of production work and animation tests going around for this during that time. Like Cartoon Brew was all over it. Like there's a ton of shit on Twitter. And a lot of working like animation tests and stuff had gone up when people were either still working on it or close to the actual premiere date, like when it was going to be released on Netflix, which was just probably a little under like 2-3 weeks ago at this point of recording anyway. I genuinely do hope that this is like kind of a recurring thing. Like this movie is not perfect by any means. Like it's an extremely well-crafted film. Some stuff worked better for me than others.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's well-crafted. Like, it's definitely, like, it's not ultra-inventive in terms of, like, its story or its characters or any of this, right? But I think, like, the exquisite care that went into it is just so palpable and just so ingrained in it that you can't help but be sort of impressed by it.
Yeah, and the method of delivery, like their storytelling method is the part that really resonated with me. Because like there have been a ton of, Santa origin stories, like Santa Claus is coming to town, all that. But the reason I like this one is that it just kind of shows like they've got this whole recurring thing about like one selfless deed, perpetuates another or something like that. And which is true, and it was cool because like, even though a lot of Jesper's intentions initially were very selfish and like singularly minded, it's like it really did end up like making a whole lot of goodwill that was going between him and the rest of the town. And like that's a really positive thing to see. Like I overall I thought that the messaging that they had behind this was good.
Oh, it's beautiful, and it's it's a little bit of the sort of pay it forward thing, if you will. But yeah, it definitely comes through, and I think I want to point to that one thing because I think it's one of my favorite moments in the film.
Yeah, do it, go for it.
So it's after they start this whole sort of like good deed thing. They're telling, that's what it is. One of the kids is writing a letter, or the kids are writing letters about what they've done recently, and so one of them is, instead of throwing the cranberries at this woman's door, we picked them for her and left them on her porch. So then she brought our mother raspberry jam, and then our mother made her raspberry pie or something. And it like, I love the way that those scene or whatever you want to call it plays out, because they deliver it with this sort of like air of like, oh, well, you've done this for me, so now I have to do this for you, and I'm better because of it, right? Like
it's a moral like superiority thing. Like, well, I made jam. Like well, I made you a cake, so I'm better than you.
Yeah, right. There's still clearly the animosity, but it's through acts of kindness.
It's like their superiority is being demonstrated in like a very kind of shitty way, where it's like they're doing nice stuff, but it's totally conditional and kind of gross. But then eventually they warm up to each other.
Yeah, right. It snowballs into, like the first kid's father making like a playset for
that thing looked dope as hell.
Oh my God.
That was cool.
So this is a fun story from baby Robin's life. My neighbors next door used to have a jungle gym when I was young, and I guess I would run over and play on it. And my dad had to like chase me off of their lawn.
Like when they weren't home, or at any time.
Just at any time, I guess, because my dad, their kids are much younger than I am, so
yeah,
I would just go over and play on their playset, and then my dad would have to come and get me because I shouldn't have been there. But in my defense, I was a child, and they didn't have a fence yet.
Yeah, so all in good time, but
yeah,
no, yeah, I relate to that. Like my dad made a tree house for my brother and I when we were like very young kids, but we would like launch rocks or whatever from like the very top, or like bury things in there was a sandbox at the bottom of it, but our neighbor's cat would keep like sneaking into it and then like pooping, so I would just be like, we didn't use the sandbox for very long after that time.
Nope.
So because it just got like the sand would just be too gross, or we wouldn't want to, or we just didn't want to replace it anymore. So we're like, okay, I guess this is just where the Tonka trucks live now.
I guess this is the cat's
We're like, we can scoop
now.
the poop and have fun with our Tonka trucks. Yeah, I know, we were industrious children. But yeah, overall, any other like things you wanted to address, or like there was one other thing that I did want to comment on, is that there is like some kind of strange uses of non-original pop music in this, which I'm just not a fan of in general in animated films. But that's more of, like in Wreck-It Ralph, where they had Shut Up and Drive by Rihanna. I thought that was stupid.
That one in particular felt very out of place in that movie.
It felt like an extreme, like, kind of corporate intervention thing, which I thought was gross. There's sort of that in this, but not nearly to the same extent. It's just like, How Do You Like Me Now? And this weird like rapping song addressing the postman, but I'm like, oh, okay, this guy was tied to also, Despicable Me, because those felt like two kind of Despicable Me-esque kind of cues.
I think the one that hit me, because I think it it's sort of okay. So in this, we talked about this moment of like watching Margot play on her land, whatever we want to call it, her little
What, the land sled, whatever.
Yeah.
We can just call it a sled. No one's gonna. Who's gonna question us? You, listener. You're gonna
do it.
You're gonna
come at me.
Yeah, do it, coward. No, whatever.
But so, when that's happening, there is another pop song playing called "Invisible" by Zara Larsson, which I think is good and works for the moment. But I think they could have probably. I think a good composer could have produced the same effect. Instrumentally. That's the word I want. Jesus Christ.
So honestly, I got the impression that was going to be like, hey guys, it's the Annie Awards. We want to submit this for Best Original Song.
That's definitely
fair.
Like...
Fair, I get it. You know, like that kind of seemed like a thing. Like, and honestly, you can't really have a Christmas movie that doesn't have some sort of new Christmas song or something incorporated into it. Even Elf does that. So it's not that shocking. But I the first time I heard it, I was like, okay, yeah, this is kind of atmospheric and fun. But as an overall theme, I don't know if it works.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would have been better if they had like an original song there or something.
Or just or like some kind of score or whatever that was similar.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely the emotional high point, and so that music is there to like crank that up a bit. I think that's perhaps the weakness, is it could have been done some kind of original content as opposed to this other song.
It did seem a little bit too saccharine to me.
Just a little bit.
But at the same time, you know, like if that's what you're going for, fine. You know, no worries. Like I've out of all the criticisms we could have, having a kind of hokey-ish song in there is not high up.
Yeah,
structurally, the story. Like, oh God, there's pop music in it.
Emotional music and emotional time. What is this?
What are story beats? What's that? Like,
no, like we're really just like kind of nitpicking at that point.
No, yeah. I mean, because like honestly, in general, everything else about it, like structurally, is very sound. Like all the characters, they have very definitive arcs. You know, like you can see what their need or their want is, how they go about achieving it, and then the resolution at the end.
Yeah.
Perfectly fine. Totally fine. Pretty much all the loose ends are tied up. We even get to see an older Margot when Jesper is trying to go find Klaus because he hasn't seen him in a while.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's cute. I was like, oh, look, there she is. She's like, 18 to like early 20s, whatever. And I was like, that's cute. I think in general, it definitely accomplishes what it sets out to do, and it does it in an entertaining way. You know, like the sense of humor in this is, some of the jokes fell a little bit flat for me, or like, you know, sometimes it was a little too goofy, but in general, I thought it was very good.
Yeah.
The writing is solid. The dialogue is extremely believable. There's a lot of slapstick, but not as much of the errant violence that you see in Despicable Me. Like, it's not generally done at everyone else's expense. It's always just like, it's played up for, you know, like they're basically just like two Viking clans or whatever. They're just fighting against each other. Like, it's very cartoony and silly and not mean-spirited, which is really important to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think in terms of the jokes, one of my favorites that we see kind of rising throughout is when the Crumbs and the Ellingbows start having to work together. And Joan Cusack, just at one point, she's just like, how have we not beaten you for so long? Because
I had the exact same thing. She's like,
he's so incompetent.
I love that, like, there's a certain point where, like, Mrs. Crumb, or, like, the leader of the Crumbs, she's attempting to, like, have, like, sort of a big epic moment, whatever, where, like, she's trying to make an announcement in the group, and Ellingbo just keeps interrupting her. She's like, no, I've lost my momentum. Like, the tone is too different now. Forget it, all right?
We're done.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have to let it go, and I'm gonna be the bigger person this time because you can't shut your goddamn gob. Like, just, I love it. I love that so much. She's like, okay, well, great. Now you ruined the moment.
Now you
ruined
the moment.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, like, the casting is spectacular. It's aesthetically absolutely gorgeous. The soundtracks that they have, like, is pretty great. The only real thing I have is the pop music. Everything else I thought was really great.
I think I'll say this about the pop music, and then I think I'm done. But I think one of the things that makes it less egregious is it's not like there's no point at which we have a full song, right? And I think that would have been tonally way out of place.
Overly melodramatic and just, like, totally takes you out of it.
Well, I think even the, like, How Do You Like Me Now, if that had been, like, a full play of that song.
Oh, thank God they didn't have an extended montage to that. I would be
That's what I mean.
So...
Right. That would have really, like, hurt the film, but it's just, you know, it's like minute and a half, 2 minutes maybe.
Yeah,
and it's
they
like
kept it high and tight. Like, they used it to establish the point, and then they let it go. And I'm like, thank God.
You know, even though I still don't feel like it's a great move, I do feel that how it's done is still very, like, efficient and well done.
I think that just the usage of those songs, I think it's either a trend or it's a corporate push by the distributors or whatever company. Because, like, sometimes they're just really trying to push that album, or they, you know, it's like you know, like the studio that produces or represents that artist is owned by the same company that owns the studio. Whatever, fine. But they set limits for it in this, which I really appreciate, which is good. I think in general, if you haven't seen this, absolutely check it out. If you have Netflix, you can find it. It's extremely pretty to look at too. Like, it'll be a good time.
Yeah, I think it's great, and I love it.
Good.
That's all the more I can say without gushing effusively, which we can still do if you want.
We totally can, but I think we've honestly kind of kept it dialed back a bit because we're just like, no, we have to just like, we can just be like, oh, that thing was cool. Like, oh, that was cool too. Because like, that's not really interesting. That's just us telling you what we like.
Let me give you a play-by-play of this movie as we watch it.
Only my opinion matters. No, yeah, you don't need that.
No one does.
Yeah, no, it's it. Yeah, definitely check it out. It's a good time. Very pretty. Robin, I think it's about time we do our handles. What do you say?
I think you're right.
All right. Where can they find you?
Ah, damn it. You beat me to
it. Okay, you can do it. That's fine. That's fine. No, we're keeping it in. Fuck it. We'll do it live.
Tracy, where can they find you online?
Thank you, Robin. They can find me at TC Troush on Twitter and Instagram. You can also find episodes of our podcast up on YouTube. Just look for NotJoannaEggsPodcast.com. We'll be on there. If you aren't already subscribed, please check us out on either iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, anywhere you get your podcasts. We should be on it.
Whatever you do for podcasts.
Whatever you want, man. It's cool. There's also our show website. I apologize. I have not been on there in a hot minute just because Tumblr is just so depressing that I feel bad. I haven't updated it in a long time.
I feel like, all right, so I'm going to make this metaphor. I feel like Tumblr now is like Jesper walking into Smearensburg at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, original. It's so true. Like, there's just hoodlums and people like causing pranks and like
small children stabbing snowmen with carrots over and over.
Petty thugs, really. And like, honestly, here's the thing. I really wish that Pornhub would have bought them because then people would be back. But they're not. So now I guess it's Yahoo's problem now or whoever bought it.
Yeah, I don't know who bought it, but they bought it for like a very small amount.
It's a pittance because no one's on there anymore, so no one cares.
Yep.
But I mean, we do have a Tumblr if you want to check it out.
If you want to check that out. It's
notjoannaeggs.tumblr.com in case I haven't sold it to you enough. And Robin, where can they find you?
Oh, as always, you can find me on Twitter at lobster_writer, Instagram lobsterwriter.
Yeah. All right.
So,
well, realistically, this will probably be coming out around Christmas. So yeah, let's tie it up.
Yeah. Thank you, as always, so much for listening.
Yes, we really appreciate it, guys.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Y'all are great. And happy holidays.
Yep, happy holidays. Enjoy company with your family or by yourself, with your friends, whatever.
Yeah.
As long as you're happy, having a good time, and having some nog.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
That's what it's about.
Unless you have heart problems, in which case, don't have nog. I won't be having nog.
I'll be having so much nog.
I have heart problems. All right, bye!
Bye!
Hey guys, thanks again so much for listening. Our intro music is Don't Hold My Breath by Ben Briggs. The outro is Wet Dreams by Phonetic Hero. Both were found on ocremix.org. If you like the show, please subscribe, rate, and review us, or tell a friend to check us out. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, and anywhere else you get your podcast. Find the show website via notjoannaeggs.tumblr.com. Follow us on Twitter via @lobster_writer and @TCTrash. Not Joanna Eggs, because animation is for everybody.